Welcome to the Radio Rejekts podcast. My name is Lou, one of your hosts, and to my right, as always, is the man of the sounds.
Yes, DJ SSAB.
DJ SSAB. We have a special guest with us.
Yes.
Pretty excited for this interview to just kind of see where this goes. You can kind of see the elaborate thing that he has next to him. So we'll, in that camera right there, we'll let you introduce yourself. What do you go by, the team that you represent, and then also kind of why you're here, I guess. Okay.
All right. My name's Joe Gagliano, and I'm with the Windy City Ghostbusters. We are a group of Ghostbustering fans, and we build our own props and uniforms, and we show up to different events, parades, and pretty much have a good time.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to go into first how we met, and then we'll go off of that. So I was we actually were just talking about this on the other podcast, but for reference, I was selling things on Marketplace. I had a Harry Potter wand, and you were interested in it. We kind of met up, and then from there I checked your profile, and I seen you were decked out in this uniform. Would you call it a uniform or a costume or what?
It is a uniform.
It's a uniform. Okay. Because, I mean, I don't want to, like, offend you and say, like, oh, it's a costume. And you're like, no, we call it a uniform.
That happens all the time.
Exactly. So so you're kind of in this uniform, and, I mean, it looks like the legit thing. I was like, I have to ask him. So when I met you in person, I was like, hey, do you do anything like with cosplay or anything like that? And I see your face lit up. So it's like something you kind of are obviously very passionate about. And you're like, yeah. And then you spoke about your team and everything. So that was the way that we kind of interacted at first. And I said, do you want to be on our podcast? And you're like, yeah, I would love to be on your podcast. So how did this come to together? Was it the team was something that you joined, or that you kind of generated and created it with a group of friends that you kind of were already doing the Ghostbuster thing aside from that?
So, actually, it all came to be because of one of my friends who was in the group.
Okay.
And I worked with him for a while at Best Buy.
Okay.
And I moved away from the store we were at, and we became friends on Facebook, and all of a sudden he starts posting all these Ghostbuster things, and I'm like, dude, that's pretty legit, you know? And I'm like thinking to myself, like, dude, when I was like 4 years old, like, I'm thinking of like the Kenner pack, right?
Yeah.
And I was always like, I want to have a Ghostbuster pack. And, the Christmas day comes and Santa brought me a proton pack, but it was the one from the real Ghostbusters, the blue one. And I'm like, yo, man, like, I want the one from the movie. You know?
Yeah.
And no, and when I saw my friend Matt Kasunik, who's been a member of our team for a very long time, and I saw his proton pack and his uniform, and I'm like, dude, what is this Ghostbuster stuff? And he's like, well, here's the breadcrumb trail. Follow it, and you too can build one of these and join us. So I'm like, all right. So I started messaging and getting on fan boards, on forum boards, and like gbfans.com. They've got a whole fandom forum surrounding what we do for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful to get a jump start on something like this.
Now, is it based around creating the pack, or is it around just kind of the overall appearance that they want you to kind of go by?
Both.
Okay.
So different groups have different
guidelines,
yeah, and they have a different idea of how you should look.
Okay.
So, like, for example, the Windy City Ghostbusters, the bare minimum to get in is a uniform and a utility belt.
Okay.
Like, you have those two things. People see you walking down the street and go, that's a Ghostbuster.
Yeah.
That's the bare minimum you need.
Okay.
So, like, all this other extra stuff is just
It's
extra
the
stuff.
passion behind it.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So pretty much like anybody can do this if they're passionate enough, you know. And part of it has to do with either know-how or how big your paycheck is.
Okay.
So
Now, just speaking on that, how long did it take you to really go to build? It's a proton pack, but I mean, how long did it take you to build it?
So this is kind of a trick question.
Okay.
This is the version 2 of a reboot style pack. So the 2016 reboot that came out.
Okay.
I was pretty much enamored with the look and the technology behind that movie, partially because of my day job, and it kind of, long story short, was my day job meets Ghostbusters, and I couldn't pass that up.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my day job, I work on an accelerator for Argonne National Laboratory.
Okay.
And pretty much the accelerator that they have is called a synchrotron, and the new technology of this proton pack from the reboot was based on a synchrotron that uses the same kind of superconducting magnets, and
Okay.
like it was just kind of cool to see how everything came together. And I'm like, dude, I can't pass that up. I have to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So the trick question is, and I know at least one of my friends on the team who gives me crap every time he sees me, asks about, so how's that 84 pack going? When I first started doing this almost 5 years ago, I purchased the start of the proton pack, and I've gotten pretty much to maybe the third step
Of doing it.
of building it, and it's kind of just stalled there. So I mean, it really depends on, for building something like this, it depends on, I guess, how much money you have to buy all the electronics and all of the goodies that go on top of just the base. This pack took me, I'd say it took me about a year to get it to where I was happy with it.
Yeah.
And that's just been from upgrading it every now and then. So this pack pretty much is what they call a junk build. And by junk build, it's a found parts build.
Okay.
So what I would do is I'd go and get reference photos, and then I'd go to like Home Depot or, a random store, and I'd look at parts and I go, that would work, right?
Yeah.
So like if I got a colander and like a floor drain,
Yeah.
like
That's so crazy that you mentioned it, and I was like, I didn't even think of that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
I'm looking at it.
I understood the drain. I didn't know what the centerpiece was, but now that you say a floor drain, I see it.
Okay.
Yep.
And
then
obviously the piping, I kind of understand that too as well.
this is a fruit basket.
Yeah.
I mean, and then there's, a toolbox and all sorts of other things.
Is that a
Dowel
credit
rods.
card reader?
Where at?
The green with the 3 buttons on it.
This here?
Yeah.
This is actually a PKE meter.
Okay.
So this is a prop that I had purchased off of Spirit Halloween.
Okay.
There's different levels of something like this you can get. So there's the basic one, which was from Spirit.
Right.
There's other higher end ones that you could purchase. There's kits you can buy and build it. I just went for the $35 one.
Right.
Yeah. Now, does it make any sort of noise or reading, essentially?
So you turn it on,
Oh,
and it opens up, makes noise. This one just has a random sequence, and it's gonna go through its thing and it'll shut down.
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
And then there's ones at from different places like Mattel. They came out with one, the Maddie Collector edition, and that one's kind of cool. Like it comes with more buttons you could push, and the different buttons do different things. It does like the wings that can open up and close, and the beeping you can control, and I mean it's kind of a cool prop that you can use. Like for example, we did the Hell's Gate Haunted House.
Okay.
We did an event with them, and we were pretty much on the outside of their haunted house, like after you exited and waited for the bus or whatever. Like we went and interacted with the crowd there, you know, to make sure that nothing followed them out or whatever.
Yeah.
So like something like this to go through the crowd was kind of, you know, pretty cool. And it also like freaked some people out. Like, what are you doing? Like, get away from me, weirdo.
But it just it went from like the beginning, because a lot of those haunted houses, it's like from the beginning to the very end, they have some sort of like design for it so that you get like the full experience. Like you don't just leave and you're like, all right, let's just walk to the car. It's kind of like you have some trail of something else that kind of like lingers on. So like the reading of it and everything like that. That's a pretty cool touch to it.
Absolutely.
So going back into like as far as like some other of the what would you call them though? Are they props? That's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily want to like.
Yeah, I mean they're props. We can call them equipment. I mean that's pretty much it. The term that's used in the community is equipment.
Okay.
So
that's what I'd rather go by then. Yeah,
okay.
I'd rather say that. So some other pieces of equipment that you have. What's the book?
So the book is the Tobin Spirit Guide. So the Windy City Ghostbusters, we do something special to get our members into the group.
Okay.
So each group does something completely different on how they handle their membership. We decided to make it it's more like a club, and we've got things established, and when you cross that line of being just a rookie to being a member, we pretty much swear you in on this.
Okay.
So this is the Ghostbusters Bible. Like if you go by what's said in the movies, the Tobin Spirit Guide is kind of like, you know, the field guide Bible of, you know, what the ghosts are and what kind of class they belong to. Okay. And how dangerous they could be. Okay. So that's
now, can I see it?
Yeah.
Am I allowed to see it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you're not touching.
You're not worthy yet. You know.
Oh wait, hold on.
This is cool. So now, does everyone get one?
No. That one I purchased. Like I said, it's we use it as a prop to swear our members on. You could actually you can go to a bookstore and buy it.
That's really cool.
Now, because we talked about Dan Aykroyd before this, Dan Aykroyd's really invested into that. His family. Do you know who Dan Aykroyd is? Correct?
No, I actually don't.
Dan Aykroyd is one of the original writers, I guess you could say. Hold on 1 minute, because this is like gonna bother me, Seb. I think you're stepping on this. He's one of the original writers of the Ghostbusters movies. He's done other movies as well, other big movies. Blues Brothers, obviously being from here with Belushi. But and I heard that. Did you know that Belushi was supposed to be in the original?
I did.
Ghostbusters.
I did.
That's pretty wild to think that he was going to be in there. Eddie Murphy too. I didn't know that Eddie Murphy was actually supposed to be in the original Ghostbusters.
And Eddie Murphy passed it up.
Yeah, well, I mean, Eddie Murphy at that time was a lot bigger.
So he's probably,
so he's probably like, trading is it Trading Places or Spaces with him and Dan Aykroyd? I think it's Trading Places. Yeah, okay.
I don't remember.
But Dan Aykroyd is huge. His family, his background rather, were very big into seances and spirits and such. And then when he started writing for Ghostbusters, and if I'm saying anything out of pocket or out of place, please correct me. But when he started writing for Ghostbusters, it was almost like second nature to him because of the fact that he was writing from a place that he already knew.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the reasons why the movie became out this. So when they started making the movie, they rewrote it. But some of the things, like the fluff guy, was still part of it, rather. Now, how many members are in your actual core, I guess, of the Ghostbusters, like the actual Windy City Ghostbusters? Because I know you were talking about when we originally met that there's an overall bigger team that some of them may do other characters or roles.
Yeah. So our group, we go by how many members we have. We don't necessarily classify them as Ghostbusters or ghosts or Danas or it's we have close to 70 members now. As far as the being in the Ghostbusters community with Ghostbuster groups, we are one of the biggest ones.
Okay.
So, I mean, across the world, there's I wish I brought it. There's a picture that one of our honorary members, who's from the Wisconsin Ghostbusters.
Okay.
He made a I don't know how you want to say it. It's like an image, right?
Okay.
And it's got all the Ghostbuster franchises mapped out, and there's also like coalitions from areas that groups have come together. Like the Windy City Ghostbusters belongs to the Midwestern Ghostbuster Coalition.
Okay.
And that's just a group of groups from around the area.
Okay. Now, because this is just going to be an obvious question because how involved you are in it, where does your love for Ghostbusters come from?
It comes from that 4-year-old kid that wanted a proton pack.
Yeah.
I've, since, doing all of this, I've been a father, and it's been one of those things where you become a father, you start kind of reliving your childhood with, through your kid and with your kid. And, it just kind of, sparked one of those, aha moments. Like, I'm in my 30s now, and it's like, man, I kind of want to, live like, make my 4-year-old self proud. Like,
yeah,
look
those things that you weren't able to do maybe because your parents were invested into it, or they didn't think it was fun, or it was silly, or they didn't want you to invest their money into it or whatever like that. Now you have that time where you're like, this is something that I genuinely loved and I never got a chance to. Now that I can, let me do that. Now, you have a son or a daughter?
I have 2 sons, 1 on the way.
Okay. And are they kind of like invested into it as well? Have you shown them the movies? Is it something where it's like kind of like you said, you're reliving with them? So when they see this, do they want to put the pack on and everything like that too as well?
Yeah, the pack itself is too heavy for them to wear.
Okay.
But we've gotten packs for them to wear.
Okay.
And they love it. Like they love the movies. They love the toys. They love the proton packs. They actually come out to events too, and it's fun. I mean, they enjoy it. They love the movies. Sit down and watch it. It's like, oh, Dad's watching his movie again.
Yeah.
But no, they enjoy it too.
Okay. And then as far as like the movie itself, because your love for it, everything like that, was it like the first time you seen that movie, you were like, what is this?
Yeah, it was a what is this, and a blown away. Like, when you're watching movies from like the 80s and I guess you could say the 90s, there's a lot of like, cheap effects or whatever, special effects, and it's one of those things where, I remember as a kid like watching the movie and generally being like, wow, they got real ghosts on the TV. Like,
yeah,
how they do that, you know?
Yeah.
And no, it's just the special effects, the gear, it's all, it amazed me, you know?
Yeah.
Has this sparked any interest for you to maybe try being a part of those teams that put together like the props, the costumes, the equipment for, production shows or movies or anything like that? Has this sparked your interest to maybe get in that design process for those things?
It has in a way. I mean, I do enjoy building things.
Yeah. That takes creativity, and you're kind of just working with what you have. If you've seen a scrap laying around, you're like, oh, that kind of looks like this thing. I could piece this together to create whatever. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of creativity involved in that.
Absolutely, and it's a great creative outlet. There's been quite a few things that I've looked at, like Star Wars props, and
which is huge right now. I feel like they're having their weight, even with the TV shows. It's like all people are talking about right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And just either between collecting the lightsabers or building the blasters and other things from that universe too. Like this was like the starting point for all that too.
Right.
Like it was one of those aha moments. Like I can actually build stuff if I really look into it. Like I can do this.
Yeah.
Right? And that was like, again, that was one of those things where, you were talking about being a kid and, what stopped you from when you were a kid. It wasn't necessarily like the parents saying, no or whatever. It was the fact of skills. Like I now know I could possess the skills to create something cool.
Yeah, from like complete scratch. I mean, I know you said that you had like the reference photos, but I mean even the valve shut off, like it just something like that. I see those things at my job all the time, and I look at those things. I would have never thought like, oh, I can build a pack from that, or I could build, even like you said with the Star Wars, like the blasters or whatever like that. I would have never thought that. So your ability to just look at those things and see what kind of almost off a reference, like when you're younger, you're not really experienced with all these tools or parts or whatever like that. So when you finally get more, comfortable with them and you become knowledgeable of them, then you can kind of incorporate them into your design.
Absolutely.
Where do you want to go with that though? Like what's the next level that you see that you want to add, like the additions?
So as far as like a reboot pack goes, 3D printing is actually huge now. It's been a growing force. I have material to start a new pack, which will then retire this one. Mm-hmm. And there's always room for growth with whatever level of prop or gear or equipment that you have. So like, for example, like my Proton pack right now, it's powered by Christmas lights. Mm-hmm. So the lights that are blinking are battery operated Christmas lights. Mm-hmm. There are legit electronics that you could put into a pack to make it look just like the movie.
Yeah.
So like there's, for this, for example, there'd be a light ring and there'd also be a soundboard you could put in with a speaker, and you can even, put vibration or whatever in the handle, so when you push the button, it'll vibrate along with create a new different sound and different lights.
Yeah.
Like my pack right now is as basic of a pack as you can find
compared to something like that.
Correct. So like my next step would be putting this away and creating something new. Mm-hmm. So the way I built this
still within the Ghostbusters realm.
Yeah. I mean, I've been building a 1984 pack, which is the ones from the original Ghostbusters.
All right.
I still have the shell, the starting point to start building that, but I still need the electronics. I still need all of the extra parts that go on top of just the shell. Mm. So again, with 3D printing, the beauty in that is it's very affordable and it's very easy to use. Whereas, you know, when I first started getting into this, 3D printing wasn't as available, and a lot of things were resin cast or, you know, making molds, and
it was also extremely expensive.
oh yeah,
An ex of mine, her father had a 3D printer, like a small one, and he tried to make a Stormtrooper, and it took a long time because at that time it was the first stages of these 3D printers where you'd be able to go maybe to a library in like Chicago that had like them on staff, and you can try to build something small or relatively small, but he was trying to do a grander scale. So he looked up the blueprints and he put them in, and you know, sometimes it would take hours for it to complete a piece of a shoulder. When now it would go, you know, a lot faster, not necessarily where it's going to be like 2 minutes, but you still would be able to, you know, build something with the holes that you can still see the lights gleaming out and the speakers can come through and everything like that. And it's, I mean, some people make the blueprints for them, so you don't even have to do that. You just put the codes in and then it just
does it for you.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever used a 3D printer, Zab?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty fun. I have a little Squirtle,
right?
Pokemon.
Yeah.
I have one of those, like a little keepsake that a friend made from Unidos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made one of those. They're fun though. But I mean, like I said, have you thought about buying one?
Yes and no.
Because they're still relatively, like a good one, they're still relatively pricier.
Expensive, yeah. And that's the thing is, you know, if I were to get one, I'd probably want something that's more reliable and more expensive than just your, you know, bottom of the line one that.
Yeah, just buy one and then eventually you have to like upgrade so soon because you've kind of outgrown it and everything.
Well, not only outgrown it, but you know, I've got friends who have them, and they're notorious for when they're printing to, you know, be 5 hours into a print, and then all of a sudden it skips a line. Your whole piece is junk.
Yeah.
It's like, well, do I really want to invest in something that can mess up in 5 hours, or do I want something that's going to be bulletproof? You know.
Yeah.
And that's one of the main hurdles in really looking into these types of things.
To really like up the level of your outfit.
Yeah.
What is have you met any of the members of the cast? Obviously, one since has passed, but I mean, have you met any of the remaining members of the cast?
I have. So
please don't tell me Bill Murray, because I'd be super jealous.
I have not met the White Unicorn yet.
Yeah. He shows up where if you never know him, Bill Murray, who's in there, is like notorious for just showing up to random things. You could have a wedding and he'll just show up to your wedding unannounced and just party with you. He's had like played in bands that were in like living rooms and everything like that, and the cops come and try to like evict them out, and he still is there. So yes, the White Unicorn is a perfect name for that. But have you met any other ones?
I have met Dan Aykroyd.
Okay.
I've met my group was invited out to the 2016 premiere.
Okay.
In Hollywood.
Okay.
So we went out there, and they had all of the Ghostbusters from all over the world on the green carpet.
Yeah.
So as the stars went by, you were able to say hi, and I was able to get a little I don't know if you want to call it a shot glass, but it's like a bottle of Dan Aykroyd's vodka.
The Crystal Skull.
Yeah.
Is it Crystal Skull, right?
It is Crystal Skull. Okay. Or Crystal Head. It's Crystal Head.
Crystal Head. Crystal Skull, I think, is from
Indiana
Jones. Yeah, but Crystal Head, they sell those at the Boulevard. That's obviously because he's from here, this area. It might be a little easier to kind of bump into him or see him at places. But yeah, you were able to get like a small
Yeah, he was giving out signed versions of these, and he actually gave them to a friend of mine who's in our group, and he was like, hey, you know, I did a favor for him, and he was like, hey, you know, this is it was cool of you to do this.
Here's for you. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
So, I mean, I still got to meet him and shake his hand as he walked by, but, you know, he didn't have any of those little bottles as he walked by me. So
he's quite a character.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really cool. Yeah, he's he was on Rogan, Dan Aykroyd, but I
Yeah.
mean, that was where I kind of seen shined a little bit more light on his conspiracy-driven mind, which is so fun because obviously I've seen him. I've took a picture with him. I met him. Really nice guy. Took his time with the people that were in line. But as far as like speaking on that reboot, did you like it?
actually, yeah, I did.
It got a lot of kickback.
It did. So there's a lot of people within the community that don't necessarily like it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people in the community that absolutely love it. There's some people that because of that movie, it's brought them to groups and it's brought them to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
And for something like that, you can take a step back and be like, this movie was important to this person as the original was to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that being said, you can't really take that back from anybody. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, I did like the movie.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few things that I was a little shaky with,
Yeah.
but I still supported it. I mean, it was still Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I obviously love the tech that was in the movie. And, you know, the whole, you know, movie wasn't for everybody, but again, we have people that enjoy it, you know?
Now, on more of like a kind of social thing towards the movie, because of it being an all female cast, did that bring more women or young girls, because obviously they want to maybe be a part of the team too as well, to come to your groups and everything like that and say, I want to be a part of it? Did you see a change in like, you know, women's interests in being a part of that? Like, is it all like a guy thing? Because obviously the original members were all guys, so kind of goes in saying like all guys are going to be members of the group right now. Did you see a change in that?
1000%, yes.
Yeah.
But even before that movie came out and before that movie was even announced and before the crew of who was going to be in that movie was announced, we still had female members.
Yeah.
And, you know, they got their fair share of slack from, you know, people when you're in an event, or, you know, sometimes we go randomly walking around the streets of Chicago dressed up as Ghostbusters. Like, you'll get the random person that, you know, is being snarky or whatever, and, you know, tells the girls that, you know, there's no women Ghostbusters or something like this. And, you know, it's like, you know, they've been, you know, just as big a fan as me, and, you know, it doesn't matter what gender they are.
Yeah.
They still love something I love.
Yeah.
And, you know, for me, that is that's respectful. Like, I have to give them their credit. You know, I don't see them any different than, you know, the group of guys.
Yeah. And I think it's just also that kind of even made it a little bit more welcoming because they chose to use a all-female cast, that now you may see a little bit less resistance from people on the streets and such like that, because they're like, oh, well, now I have no argument. There is legitimately all female cast and female members too as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I didn't really get to see as far as like the actual original cast, what they felt about the new movie. I know Murray was in it, but obviously that may be something too as well. I don't know Danny Aykroyd's involvement in the movie or anything like that too. Do you know?
Yeah, well, each of the original Ghostbusters they had an appearance in the reboot.
Yeah, I mean, but Murray's was a little it was a little like heartbreaking for me, I guess.
So, I mean, they were thankful to be part of
Okay.
the just be part of the, I guess, brand.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
they as far as I know, they were thankful. So
now, do you know personally? Since obviously you may know because you're so involved and passionate about it. The new movie, they're releasing a trailer tomorrow. I mean, obviously this is what's today's date?
Today is the
8th?
8th.
8th. Okay, so the 9th they're releasing the newest trailer of the reboot, I guess, or this is I don't necessarily know. I know it's the grandson of Egon, sorry. I don't know why I said Igor. I believe it's the great grandson or somewhere down the line.
So it's actually not been announced yet who the kid is supposed to be. It's supposed to take place in that same universe that the original Ghostbusters took place in.
Mm-hmm.
From just reading things online, and this won't be much of a spoiler because I guess the trailer is going to cover it.
Yeah, by the time we release this, the trailer's going to be already out. Yeah.
Right. But from what I've read is that the story revolves around a single mother who ends up going to some random farmland or whatever that was left to her from her estranged father that she never knew. And it was basically his estate that was given to her when he passed.
Okay.
So, I mean, looking at, some of the casting choices that they made, like, for example, the grandson is Finn Wolfhard.
Yeah.
Who's from Stranger Things.
And It, I believe, too, right? He was in It?
Yeah, he was in the It remake. If you look at the kid, he looks a lot like...
Yeah.
If
it is true what they said that it does look really well cast.
Absolutely.
Plus, people love that kid.
Yeah.
He's a great actor, so I think that could be very strong. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to fall apart with the female reboot. I think it's going to be separate. I think they might have just moved on from that whole trying to continue a sequel or anything like that.
From what I understand, it's. So I've read a couple of things. I've read that it can intertwine both of the universes, but from what I've been reading, it's solely that first universe.
Okay.
So we'll see. I mean, if they can find a way to make, both of the teams legit in the same, intertwined universe or story.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty cool to tie everything together. How they would do it, I couldn't even begin to tell you, but
okay. How you feeling, Sab? You tired?
Yeah, man, I'm super tired. I'm so sorry, guys.
He does clubs, so he got home at like 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning.
You guys got very soothing conversation.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't be opposed. Would your other members like to be a part of this?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got friends on the team that have been doing podcasts. I have friends on the team that are on, live radio shows that would, be down for doing something like this too.
Okay. I think that's what we're going to do, because I see this man's super tired. I'd rather kind of have all of you involved.
Sure. And
kind of fresh-faced, so that we can get the whole team. I mean, at least even when you spoke with your friend that kind of got you involved into it that might be something that we can kind of put a little bit aspect of it, to see their involvement too as well. Now, do they have the full
gear
and everything?
Yes.
Do some of them have like a little bit more advanced gear?
Yeah.
The guy to the right, is that his pack in his hand or his gun?
That is all the way to the right.
Yeah.
So that's my friend Bob Anderson, and he actually is the guy I was talking about that does the live radio show. He's got a live radio show in Northwest Indiana called Bob After Dark, and the guy, now that you've zoomed it in, all the way to the left,
with the glasses on his head.
Yes, his name is Anthony DeFabio, and Anthony is actually
this one.
No,
this one.
Nope. To the left.
Right
Him. There you go. He's Bob's co-host on Bob After Dark.
Nice.
So they were actually, you know, doing the Ghostbuster thing prior to the Bob After Dark thing. And the Bob After Dark is kind of a supernatural radio show. So they talk about, you know, like the Loch Ness Monster and
Oh, okay, cool.
stuff like that, you know. So
What about like the Joliet prison? Is that on there?
haunted places. I don't know if they've covered the Joliet prison yet.
Okay.
Who's
But,
this gentleman right here?
So that is now
Bobby
you put me
Irving?
on the spot. No,
Is
Bobby
Steve.
Bobby Irving
Is the guy behind him?
Yeah, the guy behind him, and so is Steve. That is so. This event was actually taking place at the
Peter?
Peter Bernstein.
Okay.
So this event was from
Wisconsin.
no, that's our. So we had guys from
Ravenna,
Wisconsin there.
Ravenna?
Yes. So we were at the Ravenna Festival. They did a special screening of Ghostbusters for the 35th anniversary, and Mr. Bernstein is the conductor of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And the thing is, I believe he's the son that did the original
Soundtrack?
score.
Oh.
So he
Not the theme song, but the score.
the score,
Okay.
right? So at the Ravinia Festival, they played the movie, but had the live orchestra
Wow.
play the score as the movie was playing.
Okay.
That's so awesome.
And let me tell you what, man, that was an experience.
Yeah.
Like the different sound mix, it was literally like I put it as this way. It's like listening to one of your favorite albums of all time with a different mix.
Because it's so live and everything like that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It
Now,
like brought a new element.
They had to like special request that film then, right? Without the soundtrack in it?
No, the film played, but they just played over it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe, you know,
I
how
want to go to
sometimes
one of those.
well, sometimes they'll take that score out
Right.
so that it's not distracting or anything away. They kind of just play it over or something like that.
Yeah, as far as I know, it was played over. I mean, I
Okay.
couldn't tell because it was the orchestra was really loud,
Yeah.
but it was a blast. It was fun.
Yeah.
How many times have you watched Ghostbusters? Like, if you had to estimate, and like, is it over 100? Is it over 200?
I mean, I've been watching it since I was a baby. So to even begin to think about how many times I've watched it.
When did it come
couldn't
out
tell
in
ya.
comparison to your age?
So I was born in February of 1984,
Mhm.
and it came out in June of 1984.
Oh, okay.
okay.
So it took you a couple years
Yeah.
to really like understand the movie at least.
Yeah.
Right.
But that was just one of those movies. Was it your parents like loved it and then?
Yeah. I mean, my dad was a big he was a big buff when it came to special effects.
Yeah.
Like he liked to see what they could do.
Mm.
And no, I remember like clearly watching, you know, different movies like Ghostbusters and Star Wars and like Indiana Jones and seeing all these different special effects heavy movies. And it was, you know, it was cool to have that because he watched those movies. He liked those movies. So they were in the house.
Yeah.
And it's not like it is today where you can literally sit down at your TV and watch anything you want. It was, if there wasn't anything on the, you know, 8 channels you had whatever movies were in the cabinet.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you didn't watch TV.
That's kind of like the nostalgia of like going to. I love going to
Yeah.
the movies. I love it. I get that people are like, you know, I could just stay at home and do it, but I love like even the buying despite prices, whatever it is, I love supporting the film, and I'll go to the movies and want to see it in that. Because despite you can try to make your living situation as great, but it will never really match how it was. Like for you would probably have loved now to be able to go back in time at the age you are right now and go sit in line with the people that are first watching the movie.
Absolutely.
And see their reaction to it. I mean, that was, I would love for some movies to see that, to walk into the theater and just, you know, some of these iconic movies, even from like 50s or 60s, whatever it may be, and watch the movie with people and see their like, wow, like that was iconic. Because I believe have you seen the on Netflix they have the movies that made us?
I have not watched it.
Okay,
but I've heard plenty about it.
Yeah, good or bad?
Good.
Okay, yeah, they discussed that when they first made the movie, because they were such on a big time crunch. I think it was like 10 months or something like that. They were such on a big time crunch that they showed the movie without the special effects. Wow. Like a lot of them. So it was like one of those things. I won't ruin it for you. I just mentioned this, but one of those things where people in the crowd were watching the movie and it would just cut and say special effects still need to be entered, and then go right back to the movie. You know, some of these big, I mean, that's a big, heavy special effect movie. I mean, a lot of the portions of it. So, and then even
trying to do that in the 80s when there wasn't a lot of graphics.
But
like,
people, they said that they were so worried, but that at the end of it, people were like applauding that it was like still such a phenomenal reaction, that movie was so good still, that it was such a phenomenal reaction. So they're like, yeah, we have something. We got something, you know, I would recommend watching it. Obviously, you're going to watch it regardless, but they have a whole documentary where it's like the toys that made us, which is like revolves around wrestling toys, Star Wars toys, and then the movies that made us, which is like Home Alone, I think, Ghostbusters, and just the overall, like, how that was put together and everything. That's kind of where I found out about Eddie Murphy having it, you know, not being in it, and Belushi was supposed to be in it, and how they couldn't really get a hold of the white unicorn, you know, so perfectly. But yeah, that was such a good documentary on it. And I think like just the movie in general, like being able to watch it like that back in the day where you had to like go to the movie or to the like Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, back when Hollywood Video was something, or like even Family Video was kind of like slowly, you know, closing some locations. That was such an exciting feeling of going there, picking a movie, and like taking a chance on a movie, whatever it is. So to know that was a part of your childhood was probably like a very big memory.
Yep.
Sitting around and saying, we're going to watch this as a family.
Yeah.
I think we lose that sometimes too. I don't mean to get too deep into it, but we lose it because we didn't have phones back then. Right. So now when we're watching a movie, we're kind of like, you know, half-assing it. I want to say you're not really paying attention to this movie that invested so much time to make, or you're like doing other things, or you're not really like giving it its well-deserved time, rather than just saying, okay, look, like we're going to watch this, shut everything off, and we're going to watch this from beginning to start. Is there?
I agree, but I kind of disagree at the same extent.
To what?
What you're saying, because I mean, you'll have people that were so invested into a new Netflix show or a new movie that they gotta do that, see it before they do anything else. You know what I mean? So it's almost like how much do you actually care about what's being played? Yes,
but I think without the ability to even have a distraction.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Like they didn't really have a phone. Nobody was sitting there watching Ghostbusters and be like, well, let me just look at the newspaper real quick while I watch this movie. You know, you have this thing where somebody just texts you. You're like, oh, okay, let me just check it real quick, and then you know, whatever.
The next thing you know, you scroll through Facebook.
You're like checking your
minutes.
feed, and you know, like Twitter and everything like that. You're slowly distracting yourself, or something happens. You know, the most you can get out of that is like someone calls the house.
Right.
You know, now you don't have that.
That would be a distraction. It's like the equivalent to like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, someone called the house.
Someone showed up unexpected, movie's over. Like,
and it's like that iconic thing of like, it's past 7. Who's calling the house right now?
Pause the movie.
Pause the movie. Yeah, that was like a big thing.
I have a question. If you were born today, based on some of the things you've seen with pop culture and the way movies are heading, what do you think the same feeling that you got from Ghostbusters you might have gotten if you were born today? What movie or something you would have gravitated towards?
Ghostbusters. No.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good question, and like I'm a big Star Wars nerd, like, and you know, there's a new Star Wars movie coming out, and there's, you know, a new video game that came out, and like I would probably, you know, just be really invested in Star Wars, and of course now The Mandalorian is out, and my kids
phenomenal
also love that movie.
show,
so good,
such a good show,
so good. But yeah, I mean, I would probably be just knowing my nerdy mindset, I would probably be, in the same realm of interests. Like I can't see myself, gravitating towards other things.
Yeah. Not big into like superheroes. Like,
oh yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I love the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
I was a big comic book nerd, and I got picked on.
What's your favorite hero?
That's such a tough question.
That is.
And like if you could embody one and like live their life from the comics that you've seen.
Also, I'm gonna do a piggyback question on that. You have
man.
one that you would pick, and you have to assemble a team of 4.
Oh my God, you
You
guys!
got to create your own Avengers.
Man. So, I mean, I've always been a fan of Captain America.
Right.
I've loved his ideals. I guess he would be my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say I look like a fat Chris Pratt.
Okay.
So, I mean, because of that, I mean,
That's a good thing, man. Chris Pratt's got the he's got
Like,
the look right now.
Yeah, I would probably gravitate towards Star-Lord. But man, as far as a team of 4, like make my own Avengers, man.
Is that kind of your 2 then, right? Star-Lord maybe and Captain America would be the 2.
Yeah. Now I got to think of
Is it just Marvel or DC as well?
DC's open.
DC's open too.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always loved Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a big Batman fan. Spider-Man has also been one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the both of the Spider-Man and Batman animated series from the 90s.
Did you see the new Joker series?
I have not yet.
I think you should, because I think this might maybe change your perspective on seeing what if there was a more realistic tone to Ghostbusters. You know how now it's kind of like more, it's like
Slightly darker. I think honestly,
yeah,
the
like
new
a
movie,
slightly dark like that. I think would be cool.
I think the new movie that's coming out is going to go for that. It's going to be playful,
Right.
but it's still. I mean, from the still images that they have, you've seen them, right?
Absolutely.
They look very more suspenseful,
Sure.
more dark. I'm excited to see. I'll actually pull them up. I'm excited, and you can keep talking, Sab. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see exactly what way they're going to go. But it looks like they may take that more darker
I think that's
approach.
kind of the not. I don't want to say trend, but trend for lack of a better word. Like you see Stranger Things,
Right.
how it's kind of like a take on the Goonies a little bit,
Right.
but more suspenseful, more realistic, a little darker too.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what's happening with a lot of nostalgic things like Ghostbusters, for example. They just did it to the Joker. You know what I mean? Like the Joker's always been this funny, playful thing, and they made him like seriously like dark.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that would be really cool to see, the things that we thought were once playful. All right, what if it got like serious,
Oh yeah.
Like this is the car.
That looks badass.
I mean, that's the car. And then they confirmed that Paul Rudd's in it.
Yep.
Now, is Finn, you have 100% that he's in it?
Yes.
And it's ironic because he played it in
Stranger
Things too,
Yep.
as well. That's the back of the car.
So-
They're very like hesitant on showing everything in it.
So that picture there of the car with the green around it,
Oh, the green right there.
that was from a teaser trailer that came out earlier this year.
So that's not well, it could be technically.
Yeah, that is it was a teaser for
I didn't
guess-
see that one then.
Yeah, that came out. I mean, it wasn't much. It was, just the camera panning into.
It was like the radios going off, right, or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was something, and there was like lightning, and there was slime on a fence, and it came into the barn, and the wind blew the tarp off of the back of the Ecto, and
Were you just like excited?
I was like, yes, yes, please. No, that was pretty much
Googling like how to be an extra. Like,
Where are they filming? Where are they filming?
What's up, Calgary?
Yeah. What's up?
But no, no, that was the pretty much like the announcement of, hey, we're actually really doing this.
Yeah.
So, Jason Reitman, who's the son of Ivan Reitman, director Ivan Reitman, directed the first Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he came to his dad with the script, and his dad went over the script. And his dad actually cried reading the script.
This new one.
So it's like when you hear stuff like that, like, okay, did they get it right? Did he cry for the right reasons? Did he cry for the wrong
this
reasons?
Is so bad, son.
But no, like
this is how you want me to go out.
in all seriousness, no, I've got high hopes that it's going to capture or recapture the feelings I felt from the original Ghostbusters. Yeah. Again, not taking anything back from the reboot, because I did feel, like, wow, this is pretty cool what they did with the reboot. But, again, I'm also looking forward to what else is in store as far as Ghostbusters.
I think I almost want them to make another series of it. I want them to have such a strong presence. And I think with the reboot, I think that was a kind of like the issue is that the original ones were, yes, humorous, but it wasn't as kind of like pop-y, like, like very like up-tempo. It was very like serious.
Deadpanning.
It was like that.
Dry humor.
And
I love
everyone.
I hate when it's like they make a joke and then they give you a pause to like
get it
or like to let it see. I'm not a big fan of that.
I mean, and the people that they had in it were all like perfect at that time.
Yeah.
To build that humor, which like a Paul Rudd technically could have filled in those things. Finn, with some of the stuff that he has in Stranger Things and in it, he still was like that humorous person. He could be dry, but it also could be very snarky and stuff.
Sure.
I think that is making me very like anxious to see
excited.
it. Yeah, I'm excited. It's one of those movies where I'm definitely going to buy a ticket and go see it in the theater, and kind of beat the rush so I don't see any of the spoilers.
Sure.
On what like Marvel and all that. You have to like hurry up and log out of everything because they'll ruin it for you. Is there anything that you guys are working?
And then they'll clown you for it. Oh, you ain't seen that? Or
you
like,
haven't seen that? I was like, I have a full job.
I have a life, bro. Like, I got a lot of things going on. Like,
but I mean, is that something where you like wait? You're gonna wait in line for that one, right?
Yeah. I'll probably see it opening night.
Yeah.
Have the kids with you?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll have a baby at the time, so it'll be a little hard. Yeah. But no, it should be good. Assuming they're going to be doing another world premiere, they might invite groups out. Maybe.
I hope the best for you, man.
Yeah. But again, I'm not so sure I'll be able to go.
Yeah.
Considering I'll have a newborn at the time. So.
Yeah. But I mean, I hope the best for you because that's honestly that's like a being talking to you and seeing the passion that you have for it, and if they do, like. That's something that you obviously would love to be a part of, and it would mean more to you than just winning tickets because they entered a contest. It's something a little bit more.
You guys should get a car. That should be the next project. Making
an Ecto,
a project car. Yeah,
Ecto one.
They have one at Did they bring one to the Boulevard or Palms? I believe someone bought one, and they.
Is that a commercial car? Like, is that like a Chevy or something like that?
It's a 1959 Miller Meteor Hearst.
Oh, okay.
So it's Cadillac, pretty much. We do have members in our group that have converted their vehicles to be Ectos. We have a Chevy Caprice wagon that was converted. There's also a Toyota Camry we have, and I think that's all our group has. But like when we went to Ravinia, one of the guys from the Wisconsin Ghostbusters has a car that's like, I think he said it was like 95% accurate.
Damn. Wow.
To the film.
It's kind of got to be tough too. Have you gone to like museums or something like that where they have the original?
Yeah, like the Volo Car Museum.
Yeah.
They've got one there. I can't tell you if it's an exact replica.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, but there's
You're like, these rims are pretty off.
yeah.
You do have a tape measure. No,
No, come on, guys.
want my money back.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, like you look at it and it's like, yeah, that's it. Like, unless you're like really into it,
Yeah.
like you won't be able to tell the difference. I do know that there are some people building a true 1-to-1 of what was in the movie that is around Northern Illinois.
I feel like Illinois is the place that would really have the exact car.
What this was? I mean, I'm not even gonna ask it.
Is that it? Is that like legit how it looks?
That's how it looks. Yeah, I don't know if that was a screen used one, but that is how it looks.
I want to drive one of those. Probably has no power steering. Like,
I mean, that's a wreck.
you're just pulling on that steering wheel, man.
So I guess part of the headache of building one like that would also be getting the interior right, because they've got gadgets and stuff on the interior too.
Yeah.
So it's like, to have everything right and to have the right kind of gurney rack for the proton packs and to modify everything, that's like, it's way over my head.
Do you know the story on why they picked, not in the movie, but I mean why they picked that type of car for them in the movie to pick?
I know the story of why they painted it white, because they originally wanted it black.
Okay.
Because white shows up better at night, and most of the Ecto 1 scenes are at night.
Yeah.
But I didn't hear the story. Maybe.
I don't know it. I'm just asking if you do, because you would
It
think
just
like
looks like a big car to fit people in.
Yeah, but they also could have got, let's get a minivan, let's get whatever. They chose this specific, and it looks so iconic now when you look back at it.
Such a different car.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with the look of it, the fins, the big bulbous windshield.
Just in a bubble.
Right.
Also being they're dealing with ghosts, dead, hearse, like, it's kind of
right.
It works
fits
with that
hand in hand.
Yeah.
But I do know I remember hearing something about the look with the fins and how out of this world it looked.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that just had a lot to do with it. So
Probably gets like 10 miles per gallon on gas, bro.
probably.
They got the one show and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say if I ever do win the lotto,
You're building one of those.
That would be on the top of my list.
I mean, it is still
It's a collector's
such
item.
a beautiful,
It's like $1 million piece.
Now, do you have
car.
collector's items like the Hot Wheels version of this car or anything like that? Do you have like a whole room dedicated to it or a shelf or whatever?
I have, I have a shelf. I have things still in boxes, just because, the price of them are, outrageous, and kids and things.
Yeah.
Right.
But no, I've got a shelf, and I display some things. Like for example, I was able to get some, I guess this isn't technically a collector's item, but part of the green carpet from the premiere I was able to get. So I was able to like have a little, I guess you can call it a shrine or whatever, of stuff That's
a collector's. That's technically a collector's item, I would say.
Yeah,
awesome. I would definitely say it is. I mean, that's a once in a moment type thing.
How'd you do that? Did you rip it off? Did you
so,
cover me, guys?
So there's a kind of a funny story behind that. When we were at the premiere, we were going to breakfast the next morning, and like, granted, that was a
Carpet was still out. You're like, now's my chance, guys.
It was a really tired trip.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep the night before flying out because of all of the stuff I was trying to get ready. I got out, took the flight out, got there, maybe slept 15 minutes on the plane because planes.
Yeah.
And went to the premiere. Pretty much the premiere didn't end until like 1, 2 in the morning. And this is already after being up. It was probably the longest I've ever been up. It had to have been at least like 36 hours I was awake. So I finally was able to sleep, woke up the next morning. I don't know what time it was. We, messaged other people from our group. We're like, hey, let's go to, I forgot whatever restaurant we went to. We went there, and there was these Ghostbusters from Dallas. Yeah, Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dallas Fort Worth Ghostbusters had this carpet. They were like, yeah, we saw these people, just throwing it away. So we, there's the carpet there.
Yeah, I tried to pull it up. I was like, I gotta find it.
So yeah, they had this carpet, and I guess after the premiere, they were just gonna toss it, and they got a big chunk of it. They either asked whoever was tossing it or just dumpster dove for it, and they cut me a piece off, and they cut a big enough piece that I was able to give it to a bunch of other people.
Yeah,
cut
awesome.
little squares off, and I guess they did sell squares while they had supplies, and whatever they made they donated. So that was pretty awesome of them.
Yeah.
Damn.
Do you know what they donated for?
I don't.
Okay.
But I do know that, I guess that's a perfect segue. Everything that my group does goes to charity.
Yeah.
So any kind of money we raise, it goes to like La Rabita's Children's Hospital or like the Tree House Animal Shelter.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So yeah, we raise money. We're completely, don't make anything from this. But yeah, I was able to get this piece of carpet, and it's like, okay, well, what can I do with it? You know? So I put it on a shelf, and I, put a bunch of things, including that little Crystal Head vodka bottle, like right there, and made it like
a little shrine, kind of like a little,
This was my experience of going to a Hollywood premiere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of collectible items that you can purchase, and it's a pretty deep rabbit hole.
If you want to go deep down to it,
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your we'll kind of start wrapping things up. What is your group looking to do coming this next year?
So we're looking to support the new movie, support Ghost Corps, which is Ghost Corps is pretty much the I guess they're the, I don't want to call them the policing force, but they're pretty much the parent group of the Ghostbusters franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, pretty much if Ghost Corps comes to any of the groups and says, hey, we need your help, I mean, it's pretty much what we do.
Yeah.
We'll go and support them. Our group is 100% supportive of anything Ghostbusters, including any of the movies, any of the shows. We'll keep doing that. We are looking forward to having a ton of events in the coming year.
Yeah.
With a new movie coming out.
Should look pretty good. And that's why I'm kind of hoping that there's some good traction with that movie. Because obviously it's going to benefit you and the other lovers of Ghostbusters, but also just because of it being such a great franchise.
Sure.
I hope you guys get booked like. I said, I hope you guys get booked like crazy, just so you guys could keep funding charities that you guys are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, I do too. And including part of that is to get more people involved.
Right.
I mean, getting new members is something that we're always looking for. And getting a new movie out and new eyes on the franchise is part of what keeps groups like ours strong.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the next coming year looks pretty bright for Ghostbusters, and I'm excited to be along for the ride.
Of course. Okay. So in that camera right there, what I have you do is just go ahead and say your name, obviously the team that you represent, where they can find you both personally and then as a team as well. In case obviously you have, some people that watch or listen to our podcast, may be interested and say like, I would love to be a part of that team. So yeah, just in that camera right there.
Okay. Again, my name is Joe Gagliano. I am from the Windy City Ghostbusters. You can find us on any of the socials at Windy City GB or Windy City Ghostbusters. You can look us up. If you are interested in being a big nerd like all of us, feel free to send a message to our Windy City Ghostbusters page on Facebook, and I personally will probably contact you for it.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming by, Joe.
Thank you for
appreciate
having me.
it so much.
It's been great.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Peace.